Good afternoon. The next item of business is consideration of Business Motion 15758 in the name of Jamie Hepburn on behalf of the Parliamentary Bureau on a change to the business programme. Any member who wishes to speak to the motion should press the request to speak button now, and I call on Minister Jamie Hepburn to move the motion.
Move, Presiding Officer.
Thank you. No member has asked to speak to the motion. Therefore, the question is that motion 15758 be agreed. Are we all agreed? Yes. The motion is therefore agreed. The next item of business is portfolio questions. And question number 1 has been withdrawn. And at question number 2, I call Michelle Thompson.
To ask the Scottish Government whether it can provide an update regarding its consideration of whether to legislate to prescribe the number of learning hours.
Minister Natalie Dawn-Innes.
The Scottish Government is continuing to work with local government and their representatives, COSLA, on how we can best protect the learning hours pupils in Scottish schools receive, including throughout budget discussions in recent weeks. The budget published yesterday by the Cabinet Secretary for Finance and Local Government sets out a funding package that we believe will enable all councils to maintain learning hours at current levels, a package we very much hope COSLA leaders will endorse when they meet tomorrow.
Michelle Thompson.
I thank the Minister for that response. Falkirk Council are next week considering a report which asks for a decision on proposals to cut learning hours in primary and secondary from the start of next academic session. This is estimated to save around £6 million annually by cutting 91 teaching posts over the next 4 years and is intended to address the budget gap. Despite the enhanced funding settlement for local authorities as detailed in yesterday's budget, what further assurances can the Minister provide that Government is providing every support to Falkirk Council in order to avoid them having to approve these cuts?
Minister.
The local government settlement for 25-26 delivers over £15 billion, an increase on last year's settlement, and this includes an additional £289 million to support local priorities and full discretion on council tax rate setting. Falkirk Council's settlement will be published on the 12th of December, and I am confident that they will be able to revisit those decisions off the back of a very strong local government settlement.
Question number 3, Kevin Stewart.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. To ask the Scottish Government what action it is taking to ensure that college courses are being tailored to meet the needs of industries involved in energy efficiency, carbon reduction and the just transition.
Minister Graham Day.
Presiding Officer, our colleges have an important role to play in developing the multi-skilled workforce that will drive the just transition to net zero. Colleges are directly involved in the regions and communities that they serve, and our expectation is that they will work closely with employers to determine the shape of their curriculum in this and, of course, other areas. The Scottish Government actively supports such work. For instance, through the Just Transition Fund, we have allocated £4.5 million over 5 years for the Energy Skills Transition Hub at Nescol, which aims to support 1,000 people into energy transition roles.
Kevin Stewart.
Thank you, Presiding Officer, and I welcome the work that is going on at Nescol. But some businesses continue to tell me that college courses need to change to meet the needs of today's ever-changing workplaces. Can the Minister tell the Chamber how the Government will act to bring dynamism and flexibility into further education courses to meet the needs of companies?
Minister.
I hear the same things as Kevin Stewart does, as he's articulated in his question. Colleges are, of course, responsible for determining their own operational decisions, including course provision. And we trust them to engage closely with employers and local partners to understand the skills needs and to routinely and continuously plan and adjust their core curriculum to meet the needs of the economy, the emerging needs of the economy. The Post-School Education and Skills Reform Programme aims to improve this further. The Funding Council sets out expectations of colleges in return for the funding they receive through outcomes, taking into consideration students, vocation, employers' needs. Scottish Government's ambition and targets and other stakeholders' interests. For instance, Nescol again co-developed a pre-apprenticeship welding course with direct industry input of the Energy Skills Partnership and Ocean Winds in line with the needs of the offshore wind sector. So there's some good practice out there. We need to see that delivered more widely.
And supplementary from Pam Duncan-Glancy, who's joining us remotely. Ms Duncan-Glancy.
Thank you, Deputy Presiding Officer. Crucial to meeting the needs of the energy industry is colleges' ability to deliver and support it. Yet yesterday's budget saw a real terms cut for colleges. Colleges Scotland have said this undermines their ability to deliver and that leaving them millions of pounds short is unacceptable. And Audit Scotland have of course warned the government of a risk to the ability of colleges to continue in their current form and that addressing the funding challenges cannot be avoided or postponed. So can I ask the Minister, which is it? Is he postponing help for colleges or avoiding helping them altogether?
Minister.
Well, Presiding Officer, colleges received a 1.8% uplift in funding from the budget yesterday. And of course, if Labour or any other party want to see that increased, then they can engage in the budget negotiations process. But I do seem to remember the member yesterday expressing a view that student support should be maintained at a level beyond demand. So there's two asks from Pam Duncan-Glancy, and the ink is barely dry on the budget. And I should also remind Labour that if they want to spend more in one or two areas, they need to cut elsewhere in the budget. And of course, we can't let this opportunity pass without reminding Labour that a fresh and additional pressure on colleges is the employer national insurance contribution, which they are currently unwilling to fully mitigate.
Question number 4, Brian Whittle.
Thank you, Deputy Presiding Officer. To ask the Scottish Government what action it's taken to ensure that students are supported throughout their educational journey with careers advice that aligns with the future economic need for specific roles and skills.
Minister Graham Day.
Presiding Officer, career support is informed by skills and labour market information, with businesses and employers providing intelligence on opportunities and skills needs. However, we recognise we need to do a lot more, and ministers have set out their intentions to improve the current offer, including working with the Career Services Collaborative to ensure students are better aware of the wide range of economic opportunities in Scotland, the skills required and the pathways that are available to achieve their goals. Alongside this, we have committed to take responsibility for national skills planning and strengthening regional approaches, better aligning this with the career support system.
Brian Whittle.
Can I thank the Minister for that response? I think careers advice at schools, though, is not reflecting future opportunities in Scotland's green economy, blue economy, rural economy, and very specifically in my area, in engineering. Ayrshire College have fantastic engineer apprenticeships and have even opened their own aeronautical engineering apprenticeship facility at Prestwick Airport. We have the demand, we have the capability to deliver apprenticeships, so what will the Scottish Government do to ensure these opportunities are marketed in schools and there is enough investment in our colleges to meet that demand for these highly paid, highly skilled long-term jobs?
Minister.
I suspect this will worry Brian Whittle, but I generally agree with what he said. We are actively working on an upgraded role in the career space for the Careers Collaborative, whose membership includes not just the SDS and DYW, but colleges and universities and local authorities. There is good work being done in this space, but I think we need to better pull all of this together to ensure we have a fully cohesive and coherent all-age careers offering. Just this morning, to pick up specifically on Brian Whittle's point, I held an employers' roundtable and I was speaking to a representative of the aerospace sector from Ayrshire, and he of course made the same points as Brian Whittle about access to apprenticeships, but he also recognised that this is just not about new recruits because it's difficult to get the numbers that they're looking for, and that within all of this we need to do a lot more in the upskilling and reskilling of the existing workforce. So I absolutely get the points that Brian Whittle makes. I just give him the commitment that it's all something we're alive to and working towards improving.
A supplementary, Michael Matheson.
Thank you, Deputy Presiding Officer. The Minister will recognise the importance of, as he does, the alignment of skills advice with that of some of the sectors who have skills gaps and the need to encourage young people into some of these professional groupings. I'm aware that Skills Development Scotland recently completed a survey of young people on their own career aspirations. I wonder if the Minister could say whether he feels that the findings from that particular survey align with the approach that's been taken by Skills Development Scotland in working with young people and giving them careers advice, and if not, what action could be taken in order to make sure that it is? Minister.
So I read the survey with interest. I thought there was some fascinating information in there around the aspirations of young people, but of course, as I said earlier, we aspire to improve the offering, and I think that there's one area here where we need to make sure that we are better articulating to young people all of the opportunities that are available to them based on their interests and their skills and their performance, obviously, in school. So I think there's more we can do, but I thought it was a useful piece of work to inform our thinking. But to be frank with the member, one of the things that has informed my planning around improving in this area has been my conversations directly with young people and what their expectations are, what they're looking for out of the system. And that's why we are looking to make some of the changes that we are.
Question number 5, Christine Graham.
Thank you very much, Deputy Presiding Officer. To ask the Scottish Government in relation to the provision of support for children with additional support needs, what assessment it has made of any impact of the reported delays to ADHD assessments for children on their education.
Minister Natalie Dawn-Innes.
The Scottish Government is aware that there has been a significant increase in children and families seeking a diagnosis and requiring support for their neurodivergence, and that this is creating challenges for a range of services. However, we are clear that support should be put in place to meet a child's requirements when they need it, rather than be dependent on a formal diagnosis. This includes where additional support is needed for learning. Local authorities have duties under the Additional Support for Learning Act 2004 to identify, to provide for and review the additional needs of their pupils. Under the Act, an additional support need can arise for any reason, and a diagnosis of ADHD is not required before support is put in place.
Christine Graham.
I thank the Minister for her answer, and I note in the budget the reference to additional ASN teachers, which of course I welcome, and I note her answer with regard to ADHD. However, would the Minister consider with her health colleague establishing a list of qualified private ADHD assessors, given the admitted delays for children whose diagnosis may be accepted by NHS practitioners, in order to facilitate shared care agreements across Scotland and assist in their educational provision, because ADHD is a wide spectrum and the needs of the children will be very different from each other?
Minister.
What I can say is we want all children to get the support that they need when they need it. So I would be absolutely happy to speak to Ms Graham about that proposal further. Obviously, that would be something that would have to be discussed with my health colleagues as well. But absolutely happy to listen to that proposal further.
And supplementary, Ros McCall.
Thank you, Deputy Presiding Officer. I also note the inclusion of the £29 million ASN plan in yesterday's draft budget. However, the scale of the challenge in relation to additional support needs such as ADHD is very serious, with over 37,000 children in Scotland having the condition and growing rapidly. Children with ADHD are more likely to drop out of school and likely to have lower scores in reading and maths, and it's therefore deeply concerning that NHS Tayside is currently have a waiting time for children referral to its neurodevelopmental service of 154 weeks. That's just short of 3 years, Minister. Now, I note the comments that the Minister said that there shouldn't be a delay, but actually there is a delay in diagnosis, and that means that children are going without support, and it puts pressure on our teachers. So can the Minister advise how the £29 million fund in the budget is going to help these students now, given that recruiting and training teachers will take years?
Minister.
I think it's concerning to hear of what Ros McCall has said in terms of the waiting times for that specific case. As I said before in my previous answer, we want children to receive the support that they need when they need it. Spending on additional support for learning by authorities has reached a record high, and our draft budget provides local government funding with that additional £41 million to support extra teachers and support staff, as well as that additional £28 million for additional support for learning services. So I would encourage Ros McCall and her entire party to vote for the budget if she wants to see further increases in support services for children with additional support needs.
Question number 6, John Mason.
Thank you very much. To ask the Scottish Government what steps it is taking to raise awareness of apprenticeship opportunities and promote them as an attractive career path for young people.
Minister Graham Day.
President Officer, Skills Development Scotland provides an all-age career service in every local authority area, with an SDS careers advisor in each school in Scotland to highlight the careers options available to people across Scotland, including apprenticeships. SDS also works with partners and employers to highlight the importance of apprenticeships, particularly through Scottish Apprenticeship Week. We continue to work closely with SDS to support the promotion of apprenticeships throughout Scotland at all times. But as Mr Mason knows, we're actively progressing measures to build on the foundations we already have in place, thanks to the endeavours of SDS.
John Mason.
I thank the Minister very much for that reply. It does concern me that there are still a lot of gender stereotypes around apprenticeships. And I wonder if he thinks, is this something that the schools can tackle, or is it down to families and peer groups?
Minister.
Mr Mason makes a very fair point, and it's not something there's an easy answer to. One helpful contribution was the work of the Gender Group and the Scottish Apprenticeship Advisory Board. They produced a piece of work that looks at all elements of gender prejudice and issues around certain careers right across the spectrum of the post-16 landscape. And I've committed to weaving that work into the wider reform agenda. If Mr Mason has the answer to this, I'd love to hear it, because it is a long-standing problem. But I think all of us, and he's right about schools, because some of the problems do start in schools, where youngsters are told that is a boy's career or that is a girl's career, when it is nothing of the sort. So we do require, collectively, to try and improve this situation and ensure that all careers are open to all of our society, with no sort of prejudice against certain career options, depending on your gender.
I have received requests from 4 members for supplementaries. I intend to take all 4. Firstly, supplementary, Colin Beattie.
Can I ask the Minister how the Scottish Government is working with the higher education sector in the development of graduate apprenticeships which promote careers in those sectors which are most important for the Scottish economy?
Minister.
President Officer, we've established a graduate apprenticeship enhancement group that's chaired by Professor Steve Decent, the Principal and Vice-Chancellor of Glasgow Cali. And the group, supported by has 4 work streams and a broad range of stakeholders, is revisiting the purpose and the objective of GAs, and will help drive future policy, ensuring that the GA strategic direction is also in line with wider skills reform and economic priorities. Graduate apprenticeships have considerable potential for expansion to address the skills shortages and improve workforce retention. Numbers are increasing, but I think we can increase them further and move the GA offering into other disciplines, but I'll be guided in this by the expert group.
Supplementary, Miles Briggs.
Thank you, Deputy Presiding Officer. Can I ask the Minister what proposed reforms Government will look to bring forward to support employers to help develop part-time apprenticeship opportunities, especially given last year's budget, the Scottish Government removed the Flexible Workforce Development Fund, which was £7 million for employers to develop these sorts of pathways?
Minister.
I will commit to meet with Miles Briggs to explore that further. I have to confess it's not an issue that I had considered. It's one I'm happy to explore with him, because I think it might have some merit.
Supplementary, Martin Whitfield.
Very grateful, Deputy Presiding Officer. Traditional skills such as masonry are of vital importance across the south of Scotland, and there are excellent examples of facilitators such as the Ridge SCIO in Dunbar, East Lothian. Will the Minister confirm that support for traditional apprenticeships, which frequently come at a greater expense than other apprenticeships, will both be supported but also championed by this Government?
Minister.
Again, as I did with earlier, I agree with Martin Whitfield on that point. I think it's an important point that he makes. We do tend to talk a lot about emerging job opportunities and future career opportunities for young people. There will always be a demand for traditional skills, and stonemasonry is a case in point. In fact, one might argue that stonemasonry sits in the green skills agenda, because we will need those skills moving forward to maintain older buildings. I want to assure him that we are absolutely committed to sustaining accessible access to those types of courses, those types of apprenticeships. They may develop more into a different offering going forward, but it's something we're absolutely alive to.
And supplementary, Willie Rennie.
Not everyone at school wants to pursue an academic route, and many would thrive in vocational or technical education. But despite discussing this for decades, we've never really cracked it. I believe the way that we measure success in schools is part of the reason, and I think we should change the Insight programme. But can the Minister set out what he's planning to do so that we can finally crack this and get vocational education the level that it deserves?
Minister.
President Officer, it's a very timely question. As Mr Rennie knows, I'm committed to reviewing the foundation apprenticeship offering in schools and across the whole of Scotland, because it is quite variable. But what we now intend to do is to look at that alongside the vocational courses that are being offered in some schools. So we have that whole picture, that we can take account of the complete picture and hopefully come up with a way forward that really delivers for people, young people, for whom that is the best career path to move into. So it is something we're actively pursuing at the moment.
Question number 7, Faisal Chowdhury.
Thank you, Deputy Presiding Officer. to ask the Scottish Government how it is working to ensure that pupils have access to practical science activities as part of the curriculum.
Minister Natalie Dawn-Innes.
Practical science is part of the Sciences curriculum, and work to improve the curriculum as part of the curriculum improvement cycle is now underway, led by Education Scotland. This financial year alone, we've invested over £100,000 in the Raising Aspirations in Science education programme, empowering primary school practitioners with the confidence and skills required to deliver engaging STEM learning. We've also provided over £900,000 to CERC, an organisation which delivers professional learning and training for STEM teachers and school technicians. This includes practical advice and guidance on reducing the costs of delivering practical science activities.
Faisal Chowdhury.
I thank the Minister for the answer. Science technologies are a key part of the science departments in schools, supporting teachers with their work and practical lessons. However, the Royal Society of Chemistry's Science Technology Survey 2024 saw 49% of respondents from mainstream and specialist schools stating they are understaffed for science technicians. Can the Minister advise how the Scottish Government is working to address this shortage of science technicians?
Minister.
The Scottish Government absolutely recognises the important role that school technicians can play in supporting science teachers in the delivery of engaging practical learning opportunities. Now, local authorities are responsible for the recruitment and deployment of their staff, including teachers and technicians, and will continue to support them to maximise the number of jobs available in certain areas and in certain subjects. However, at a national level, the Scottish Government supports CERC, as I mentioned in my previous response, which offers training for school technicians, reaching over 320 science technicians and delivering over 4,500 combined hours of professional learning last year.
And question number 8, Maggie Chapman, who's joining us remotely. Ms Chapman.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. To ask the Scottish Government what discussions it has had with the University of Dundee in light of recent reports regarding its financial situation, senior management resignations and its failure to recruit enough Scottish students.
Minister Graham Day.
Presiding Officer, the University of Dundee wrote to me on the 13th of November to outline the current financial challenges it is facing and in broad terms outline the steps being taken to address this. As autonomous institutions, universities have a key role in mitigating financial pressures and external risks. However, both the Scottish Government and the Scottish Funding Council will continue to support individual universities such as Dundee in developing their own strategies to minimise any negative impacts on short, medium and long-term financial sustainability. The need to ensure that universities are on a sustainable trajectory is at the heart of our considerations to reform the post-school education system so that the very significant investment we are making delivers the best outcomes for learners, the economy and society.
Maggie Chapman.
I thank the Minister for his answer. Dundee University should not be in financial crisis. It generated a significant surplus in recent years and staff costs have fallen by 25% since 2021. However, staff are now facing redundancies and the university has failed to fill its SFC-funded places for Scottish students. Given the public money rightly spent on higher education in Scotland, will the Minister undertake to investigate why jobs are threatened, why recruitment of Scottish students is failing, and why restructuring is planned, and whether all of this, in the words of the Students' Association, amount to papering over management failures?
Minister. Presiding Officer, I hope the member will recognise it is not for ministers to become directly involved in operational issues in individual institutions. It is really the role of the SFC to engage in that regard. I understand, however, that the announcements to staff at Dundee University came out of the blue and have caused considerable upset. And in my response to the university's letter, I outlined my expectation that, at the very least, every effort was made to ensure that any redundancies were voluntary in nature. But Maggie Chapman will, I hope, welcome the uplift in university funding announced in yesterday's budget and share my hope that that will help alleviate the situation at Dundee.
Thank you. That concludes portfolio questions on education and skills. There will be a short pause before we move on to the next item of business to allow front bench teams to change position should they so wish. Thank you.